All right. We are again recording another podcast episode during Ranger Hall of Fame week. Very, very excited. This has been a great week. Like, this has just been a fucking amazing week, if I'm being honest with you. And we're finishing up the last couple things today. Before we start sending the team off on their way. I want to give a really big shout out to the entire crew with Creative Creatures being out here helping us do all this, not only for the podcast, but the Ranger Hall of Fame project and the Ranger Legacy Foundation project that we're doing for this. Shout out to also Corey Kress for all the work that he's been doing on social media. And the first employee of Legends of the 75th is the Director of Growth as official this week.
Nice.
This week. Yeah, that's actually this week news. And I want to give it finally to Josh Powers a thank you so much for lining this up with Buddy, the studio, downtown Columbus up at the Loft, letting us use this. This has been real. Yeah.
This is totally amazing.
Yeah, it really
I feel like I'm actually on some sort of like professional show. You know,
we're trying to at least have the guys to be a professional. Of course. Yeah. So, but we have the absolute honor today to sit down with Master Sergeant Jose Gordon. He did a total of 21 years of service on active duty, decades more in and around the community in multiple different capacities, and we'll talk about that. He originally came in 1982 into 175, did time in RHQ, Master Breacher Cell, also a lot of the regular warfare subterranean stuff, helping regiment kind of deep dive into that, but then also doing it as a civilian. So we'll talk about that. He has 2 combat jumps, hence why he's a little bit shorter. He used to actually be right under 6 foot.
the second one, I actually dropped another inch.
Yeah, so it happens.
That's what happens on 500-foot jumps.
Yeah, right. But jumped into Urgent Fury and then also Just Cause in Panama. As far as deployments goes, he's got those 2 deployments, multiple contingency deployments, the Middle East, Africa, Haiti, Bosnia, a lot of the different work, especially air planning work that he did. So anyway, Jose, man, you are also the inductee in the 2025 Ranger Hall of Fame.
I know, dude. What a shocker, right? I mean, seriously, true shocker to me, dude. It caught me totally off guard. I'll be totally honest with you. I'll reflect back to what I said yesterday about 1992, sitting there and sitting in the audience and going, there's Ralph Puckett, there's Frank D. Merrill, there's, freaking everybody that you can think of, Willie O'Darby, all being inducted, the WAD, all being inducted. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's never going to be me.
Yeah.
I'm a staff. Well, actually, I was a just newly promoted SFC. And I was a 3A in 175 at the time. And I was sitting there going, yeah, that'll never be me. And now it is, go figure the shock, so
Congratulations.
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well deserved. I had the pleasure of pleasure and then also comedic relief of sitting next to, just everybody imagine this if you know him, Adam Nash, Kurt Donaldson, it was me, and then Alba. And then on the other side of them was Nick Bielik.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And it is so funny, too, because Rick Merritt came up, Sergeant Major Hall came up, and I think one more person came up, and they looked at all 4 of us, or all 5 of us, and they're like, you fucking behave yourself. And I'm like, shit. Like we're found out, but
yeah, Mike Hall has a way of saying something like that you sink deeper into his seat. You're like, okay.
Yeah. There's so many stories about him, especially like recently when we went out to the Philippines for Cabanatuan.
Yeah.
He had some statements like sometimes that I'd be just people were like,
imagine,
like the next day people were still laughing about it. So Cameron Foth, he has one that he tells it all the time. And we still laugh about it every time. So, but gosh, what an amazing human being. Yeah. Well, we're here to talk about you, which is the hardest thing I always have as a guest.
I know you've heard it 1,000 times, and it's hard to even look at you in the eyes when I say this. It really is. It's very embarrassing. It's uncomfortable. I don't know how else to say it. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm not a good self promoter.
Yeah.
I'll brag like dude. If there was 10 guys on target, there were 1,000 guys on target.
Yeah.
I'll stretch the story,
Of course.
but when it comes to me, I'll like stretch back, and it's uncomfortable for me. I don't know why. I have no idea. You know,
Well,
maybe it's because I'm so short.
well,
No, I'm not.
I honestly do. I got to be honest with you. I think that actually adds to, what you've accomplished, and let me say two things, one, being shorter, like, I mean, I'm literally not poking fun.
No.
I'm not poking fun. I could say this as a tall guy, above average, like, you just talk about something as simple as fucking jumping,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and, you talk about your 1950,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all this different kind of stuff, Gustavs, bazookas, all the stuff we used to have to jump. It is harder when you're fucking short.
Well, I'll tell you though, there are advantages. I'll give you, if you got a second, I'll give you a quick.
That's what we're here.
Down in Dirty, in an ambush in Grenada, where my PL shot, and everyone's, it's just 4 of us.
Yeah.
Everyone's shot. The PL's on the road, and I'm still standing, and I'm going, "Oh look, the bullets are hitting way up there." I'm just saying.
That's
And
great.
it took me a second to go, "Oh shit, I gotta get down."
Yeah.
So my point is, there are advantages, bro. I mean, you could make jokes all you want about me being, 5'5", a statuesque 5'5", but man, I'm gonna roll the dice with you any day
Yeah.
when the bullets start flying. I'll tell you that.
That's fair.
So
Yeah, and the other thing I was gonna say too, just to add, sitting down your induction in the Ranger Hall of Fame, sit down on this podcast as well. And I'm not saying that we're anything special, but I think we do a good job with the guests that we have.
you do an amazing job, and
Appreciate that.
and I really would like to see this podcast kind of like, not because I'm on it now. Yes, because I'm on it now.
Yeah.
No, but I really wish this podcast would catch fire. I mean, literally catch fire and just take off, because I mean, you've had, Gentleman Crystal, you've had Mike Hall, you've got Ted Kennedy, you've got Spence, you got so many like true heroes in the essence of the word. And it's just, it needs it, and great interviews. That's the thing. The way the interviews are conducted, they're so genuine. There's no script, if you will.
Yeah.
And so it adds to the authenticity of what they're speaking of. You know what I mean?
I appreciate
So it just, and you draw it out. So anyway, I would hope that the podcast can gain a lot more ground. You've had Size Love on here, and I watched that. I was like, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know,
I love Chris.
Chris is phenomenal.
He is amazing.
Dude,
so,
he is an amazing guy.
yeah.
Probably one of the best instructors you're ever going to run into.
Yeah, that is very true. He is truly amazing. It's awesome to see what he's doing too.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to start at the beginning, but before I do, I just want to say one thing too. I think also, to add, credence to everything that you've done is, and again, anybody that did, one tour or, a short stint in the military, nothing against you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all you did. But there's also something to be said for old men that are doing a young man's game. And, you don't do
That's
that.
the uncomfortable thing.
Yeah. You don't do that. You don't do that by being, a fucking pussy.
Now, I'll say this. When I was in AWG, we had basically a bumper sticker, what AWG was. And it was, we're in the business of making young soldiers old like us.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You're bringing up the new generation, and it's the continuation of what you know and what you do, what you've done.
Yeah.
You don't have to brag about what you've done. I give 2 shits about whatever I did yesterday. What can I do today?
Right.
What am I doing today? And that's I should say, the one thing I will be arrogant about is that, and I will dispense with humility, if you will, is that I look forward every day to doing what I'm doing, because I'm with the kids. I'm with the boys, out at Griswold. I'm here for Ranger Hall of Fame, but I was out at ESBC Monday and Tuesday, the Enhanced Specialized Breacher course, because we put in an RDB out there, a reusable door bunker. And Derek Mills, the RMBC guys, they were like, "Hey, can you come out?" Blah, blah, blah. Came out there, because that's the juice, man. That's what I get,
Yeah.
is being around them. The kids, they had the breachers from 175 out there. And that's where I guess you can say I see the results, and then I do get a little pride in me, you know. I do, I do.
You
And
should.
well, I don't know if I should or not. You know, it's one of the deadly sins, man. You know,
Yeah.
you know.
But I mean, here's how I think of things, and don't get me wrong, like I never thought I'd be sitting here right now
I never
doing
thought you'd be sitting here.
no, you know, and but it's the opportunity that was put in front of me. It's the route that we went some weird way, and I hope that every podcast I try to record it for one person. And there's gonna be one kid, young ranger, or maybe a guy getting ready to go into ranger, into the ranger regiment or whatever. Just maybe the military in general, or life. Life as a young man or woman, and you're gonna say one thing in this episode, for an hour and a half or however long we sit here, and it's gonna fundamentally become a core root of who they are as a human being,
That's true.
and it's gonna change their life. If we did that, all that we spend, all the money we spend for all these productions, all the time, the effort, everything, if it happens for one person, then it's time well spent. It's money well spent. It's worth everything that we do. But when you talk about what you're doing, I don't think there's anything wrong with pride. You know, maybe being a little bit boastful, maybe okay if you're sitting there making it your identity, and and you maybe to be demeaning to people, okay, that's a problem. But if you're proud that today I spent the day on the range, for the most part, what I taught the kids or what I did with these young gentlemen, was good, but there was one moment with one guy that it just switched, and that's why I always loved about breaching.
Yeah.
I'm a shooter, but I'm not a good shooter. But breaching, like, because I remember, Chris Moore. I don't know if you remember Chris.
I know Chris.
Chris Moore, Mark Griff.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeremiah Condon.
Oh,
Okay.
God,
They
big
took me,
Jeremiah.
yeah, they took, oh, and Peden, sorry, Mark Peden
Oh,
was the
Mark
other
Peden,
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
They took me under the wing with breaching because they saw me the first time I did a brazier breach.
Yeah.
Okay. And I clicked that M81, and, it lifted me off the ground a little bit, and I felt that overpressure. And they just saw I was a young POC at the time, right?
Yeah.
They just saw the look on my eyes, like, oh my God, that, and they invested in me after that. But that changed the trajectory of my Ranger career, that one moment.
Yeah.
And those guys, for whatever reason, I have no idea at the time, why they did it. And they said, hey, come out here. Here's how you build this. Hey, let's go down. And then, they handed me it, and they're like, you got to blow it up. I'm like, me? I get to blow it?
Yeah.
And
Well, actually, what they were saying was, yeah, you get to blow it up because we're gonna be way over there.
I will say Chris was laying right
Oh,
next
yeah.
to me, yeah. But yeah, everybody else, so yeah. So, but well, anyway, so going back, Jose, is let's go all the way back to the beginning. Why did you want to be an airborne ranger?
I didn't know what it was. I'll be totally honest with you. I came in the Army. I played baseball down at University of Miami. Lost a scholarship. That's another story. And out of a job.
How old were you at this time?
I was 18.
Okay.
18, getting ready to be 19.
Okay.
And my dad said, well, what are you going to do? I was like, well, I thought I'd come home. No. That's not going to happen. He goes, you need to find a job. My brother was in the Air Force, and he was a AC-130 back ender, and I was like, I ain't doing that. But I decided that, hey, I always loved the military, and here's why. I have to step back a little bit. I'm half Argentinian, right? My parents, I'm a first generation born in America, Gordon, if you will.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. We're
Yeah.
definitely talking about that in a minute, but go ahead.
So my father was a diplomat, and I have two sides. Well, the Gordon side and the Pelufo side. Which, for example, my nephew and niece that were in the audience yesterday, their brother is getting ready to be an Argentine general in the Army now. My other nephew,
Oh, no kidding.
Octavio,
Wow.
yeah, his dad was a general in the Argentine Army. His dad, my favorite uncle, Tio Ángel, Uncle Angel, he was one of the generals that deposed Juan Perón. in 1955.
What?
Oh yeah, and that's why my dad ended up and my mom ended up here. My dad at the time was a political satirist during the Perón era,
What is that word mean, satirist?
like a cartoonist,
Oh, okay.
political
Oh,
wrote
okay,
articles.
okay.
So he was very anti-Peronista.
I
My dad,
gotcha.
I grew up hating socialism and communism because of my dad, and I'll tell you about that
Okay.
if we want to get into it.
Yeah. Holy shit. Okay.
But
We're gonna have to check our memory cards. We might be here. Like you've already said, like 3 things that I want to deep dive into. Okay.
but yeah, so dad at the time was one of the political editors of one of the biggest newspapers in Argentina. He was a young guy, but he was a professor of art. He'd gone to the University of Buenos Aires, graduated he was an art professor. He was an artist actually. And he got hired by the newspaper, and they made him because he was a good cartoonist. They made him this cartoonist, and he turned it into a political cartoon about essentially the administration of the day, right? So when Perón ascended into power, Dad saw the socialism come in, and what the play Evita is great. It's beautiful music and all that, but what it doesn't tell you is the seedy underbelly of that regime. And the original, they had the things. Have you ever heard of the Disappeared in Argentina?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, they call them los desaparecidos. The originals were during the Perón era. They would just drive up to a house to somebody who was, anti-Peronista, throw them in the back of a car, smuggle them off.
What language do they speak in Argentina?
Or Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a fluent in Spanish. I don't look Spanish. I'm an American, not an American. So I just want to get.
I would actually say you almost look like a Spaniard more than anything. Okay.
That's because I'm tanned up.
Yeah.
That's working on the roof. But in any event, so when my uncles found out that Dad was on the list, he was dating my mom, and so my uncle, Tio Ankit, who was then a brigade commander, went to my dad. They were close friends. That's how my dad met my mom, because he was married to my mom's sister, my uncle.
Gotcha.
Told my dad, we got to get you out of the country or you're going to die. So, and they were building up the coup, if you will. So basically my mom's 4'11", thus the height. My brother's 5. My dad was 6'2". My brother's 5'11". So my sister's 5'9". So yeah, mine's genes.
Take after mom.
Yeah. So essentially the plan was smuggle my mom and my dad on a mail plane over the Andes to Santiago, Chile. And my uncle, who was a pilot, played a mail pilot. The part of a mail pilot, they put my mom in a mail bag. Get in here. Edith, get in here. My dad was the mailman. Carried her to the plane. Yeah. Threw her in the plane. And, a mail airplane flew him to the Andes, over the Andes, landed in Santiago. And that's where my dad and my mom decided to get married like immediately, right? So just in case something happened. And at the time, Pinochet was not yet in power. I forget the guy that was in power. He was friendly to the people like my dad. So he put my dad into the newspaper there.
Gotcha.
El Mercurio
Okay.
was the name of the paper, and he carried on the kind of like the dark subversion from Chile. And that helped generate the people to help my uncles. Cause I had 2 uncles that were generals, that helped them overthrow Perón. And then when they overthrew Perón, they put in President Frondizi into power. Frondizi, very good friend of my dad, brought Dad back. This is now 55. This is now at 55. They brought my dad back. My uncle became the director of the Argentine CIA, which called CIA. My dad was one of my uncle's, my uncle's chief of staff. And while my mom and dad were in Chile, my oldest sister, Patty, who has since passed, was born with a bad heart condition. It's called arteriosus truncus type 4. Back then, there was no cure. So they kept telling my mom and dad that she was going to die. She was going to die. She did. When they got back to Argentina, they found out that there's 2 places in the world that can operate on that condition.
Right.
U.S. and Russia. my uncle said, all right, we're going to post in the embassy in either Moscow or in Washington, D.C. My dad's like, I ain't going to Moscow.
Oh, yeah, no shit, right?
So that's where he ended up here. Amazing story, isn't it?
How is this not a book?
I don't know.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, there's more to my dad that a lot of people just dad started to write a book because I was always encouraging him.
Yeah.
And he passed away too early in life. He passed away at 69.
Oh, really?
And it was right in the middle of writing the book. And my uncles were all encouraging him to write a book
Yeah.
because he was a journalist. And
He
yeah,
was like we talk about subterfuge, like regime overthrowing.
yeah.
Your dad was part of this.
And then years later, I'd be doing it for real, getting paid for it.
I know that, and that's the tie-in that like it's in your DNA.
Yeah.
I'm gonna break us for a second here. We haven't got to Why You're an Airborne Ranger yet, but before I do, I want to put a thought in your head. Yeah, I just want to put a thought in your head. I don't know if you've ever read the book Flag of Our Fathers.
God, yeah.
Yeah, I have. Okay, so and if anybody's never read this book, I'll put it in the show notes, but go check this book out because the reason I love this book, and it's funny how this keeps on like playing through my life. It reminds me of Paul O'Connell, who came to us with, on Operation Kabanaton, the thing that we did for that. But the Flag of the Fathers, he wrote this book. He knew a little bit about his father. Okay.
Right.
But he didn't know a lot. He did not know that his father actually had who was one of the guys, the Marines that rose his flag on Iwo Jima. The second time, by the way.
Yeah, not the first.
No, that's the first time.
Yeah.
The second one was the staged one that became famous. But anyway, so the book is actually his discovery journey to learn things that he just didn't know about his father.
It's very heartfelt, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
crazy. Dude.
it's one of my favorite books for multiple different reasons, and I could talk about that. But like, how cool would it be to write a book? Because you know a lot. You obviously know a lot. Sorry about that.
No,
you know a lot, but
right.
like,
Pin.
yeah, I know, right?
With a fence.
But going back to Argentina, going back to Chile, retracing some of the steps and stuff like that, and talking to the people, that because there's probably still people there that can help tell this story about your father. Like, how cool would that be?
Well, it's something that we discussed with my nephew and niece over the last couple of days because they live here. They're Americans here in the United States, and they're my favorite niece and nephew. You always have a favorite, But we talked about that because he now is in a position to be able. His dad, who is the son of my favorite uncle, who were cousins. His dad basically said the same thing. I'd sit down with Jose and write this out. But yeah, it's something to think about that I already started thinking about in my head.
I would love to help in any way.
Oh God, yeah.
I'm better film critic. I mean, I happen to start knowing some things. So, all right. Well, we're gonna break. Hey, we haven't even got to Why You're an Airborne Ranger yet. You don't want to miss the rest of this episode. So this is a 20-minute preview. Hey, really, if you want to see the rest of the episode, plus the other 80 episodes, plus all the behind-the-scenes stuff that we're posting, videos for all the projects and everything else, consider becoming an exclusive exclusive member of our Patreon community. It helps us do this, improve upon this. Just like Jose said, we're starting to look professional. Well, the reason we're able to do this is because we are able to use the money from the exclusive guests, the exclusive members of the Patreon account. We're able to use that money to enhance doing all this stuff that we're doing so that you can truly, truly help us capture and preserve Ranger history, one story at a time, one film project at a time, one documentary at a time, and all the other stuff that we're doing. So please consider it and kind of help us in our efforts and help us in what we're doing because as I don't know, some rapper probably said, I ain't doing this shit for nothing.
Dude,